Wolfman premiered in 1941 and starred Claude Rains, Evelyn Ankers, Bela Lugosi, and Lon Chaney Jr. as the Wolfman. Now, it's no surprise by now that I am really excited to talk about this movie because the Wolfman is my absolute favorite of the Universal monsters. Now, even though this film has received a lot of praise over the years as being an iconic werewolf movie, it actually wasn't the first werewolf movie in the Universal Monster film series, but I'll get to that in just a moment. Let's go ahead and get started, but before I share my thoughts, here's a brief summary. Lawrence, or Larry Talbot, returns to his family home in Llanwilly Village after hearing the news of the death of his brother. He meets the lovely but already engaged Gwen Conlift and buys a silver cane with a werewolf head and learns of the mythical creature. That night, Talbot, along with Conlift and her friend Jenny, are attacked by Bela the Gypsy. Hey look, it's Bela Lugosi. Anyway, Bela the Gypsy is revealed to be a werewolf. Larry kills Bela, but is bitten in the process, and he himself now falls under the curse of the werewolf. Now, I did a ranking of werewolf movies not too long ago, and I'll link that below in case you're interested in checking that out. And I've seen a lot of other werewolf movie rankings here on YouTube, and it probably comes as no surprise that the original Wolfman holds a high spot in almost all of them. This isn't the first werewolf movie in the Universal Monster film series. That actually goes to Werewolf of London. Well, kind of. Sorry guys, hate to put a pause on the whole black and white filter, but I feel like I should probably correct myself before I get an all caps response down in the comments below. But anyway, while technically yes, Werewolf of London was the first full-length werewolf movie in the Universal Monster film series, it technically wasn't the first werewolf movie that Universal has done. No, that actually goes to the silent film The Werewolf from 1913. It was about a 20-minute long silent film that was actually made by another company that Universal eventually bought. So yes, technically there was another werewolf movie from Universal Pictures from the early 1900s. However, that movie is actually considered to be lost as it was destroyed in a warehouse fire. So just wanted to point that out. We good? All good? Great. Moving on. But there's no denying that this movie is iconic. Lon Chaney Jr.'s performance as Larry Talbot, aka the Wolfman, is great. And he's no stranger to the film industry, as his father is Man of a Thousand Faces actor Lon Chaney, who played other Universal monsters like The Hunchback of Notre Dame and The Phantom of the Opera. No, not that one. That one. There we go. Lon Chaney Jr. would follow in similar footsteps as he himself would go on to play other monsters such as Dracula from Son of Dracula, the Frankenstein monster in the movie Ghost of Frankenstein, and the Mummy in The Mummy's Tomb, The Mummy's Ghost, and The Mummy's Curse. But I'll get to those films later. But despite having played several of the other monsters, his performance as the Wolfman is by far his most famous role, as he would go on to play the Wolfman in several other movies. His acting range is great, as he can go from a very sad, confused, and sympathetic Larry Talbot to a complete savage Wolfman. And when, thanks to both the makeup and Chaney's acting, he really does a great job at separating Talbot from the Wolfman. So while it wasn't always Lon Chaney Jr. to play the role, the character of Lawrence Talbot would continue to live on throughout the years, with Benicio del Toro playing him in the 2010 remake of The Wolfman, and also in the film Alvin and the Chipmunks Meet the Wolfman. The Chipmunks have a new neighbor who's a werewolf who's named Lawrence Talbot. And also in the series Penny Dreadful, which is a pretty solid show, by the way. You should totally check that out, even though I'm about to spoil it for you. There's a character named Ethan Chandler who's both a werewolf, and his real name is eventually revealed to be Ethan Lawrence Talbot. But no doubt Lon Chaney Jr.'s performance as Talbot is the most classic and iconic. Dracula star Bela Lugosi plays Bela the Gypsy, who was both the werewolf who bit Talbot and the son of Mileva, the gypsy who helps Talbot after he was bitten. Mileva is played by Maria Alspinskaya. I definitely butchered that name, I apologize. But I appreciated her performance. It did feel a little monotone, but I personally take that as more experience, having, lived through all the werewolf tragedies with her own son, so So she's probably used to it by now, and nothing really surprises her anymore. Larry's father, Sir John Talbot, was played by another Universal Monster actor, Claude Rains, who played the Invisible Man and would eventually go on to play the Phantom of the Opera. No, again, not that one. That one, there we go. Okay. Apparently, comic book movies weren't the first ones to get reboots. Lon Chaney Jr. and Claude Rains have a great chemistry as father and son, even though they were only 15 years apart. But with how well Claude Rains played a father figure, you really don't get that impression that they're not too far in age. The makeup design of the Wolfman is amazing and iconic, and definitely one of my personal favorite werewolf designs. But it does also lead to a couple of plot holes in this movie, which for this movie is the only negatives I have for it. When Bela turned into a werewolf, he actually turned into a full wolf. Hey, fun fact though, Bela in werewolf form was actually Lon Chaney Jr.'s actual dog named Moose. But anyway, my question is, why didn't Talbot turn into a wolf? Is the werewolf curse just different per person, or do they start out different and eventually take the full form of a wolf at some point? Also, why does Talbot have almost the same outfit every time he transforms? During his first transformation, he wasn't wearing that shirt at all, and in the very next scene, he is. It's one of the many mysteries that have kept me up at night throughout my life. The effects and cinematography are done very well, especially when it comes to the transformation scenes. The plot itself I thought made for a great werewolf story. When it comes down to it, it's about a family reuniting after a tragedy, only to unfortunately become part of another tragedy, and the basis would inspire future Wolfman movies like the 2010 remake starring Benicio del Toro and the 2025 Blumhouse remake Wolfman, as that film again has a man returning home after the news of a deceased relative only to become infected with an animal-like disease. I have a review of that one as well. I'll post a link to it if you'd like to check that out. Now, the end of the Wolfman movie from 1941 is both thrilling and pretty emotional. Now, spoilers if you haven't seen it, but after Sir John Talbot ties Larry to a chair in hopes of helping him realize that this werewolf curse is nothing but a delusion, Talbot, of course, transforms, escapes, attacks Gwen Conliffe, and he eventually gets killed by Sir John with that same cane that Larry used to kill Bela. Now, the look on Sir John's face when he realizes what he's done, not only by killing his own son Larry, but by not taking the werewolf curse seriously in the first place, it's gut-wrenching. And Claude Rains captured that look of both shock and guilt perfectly. So it goes without saying by now, I definitely recommend checking out The Wolfman. It's definitely one of my favorite of the Universal Monster movies, right up there with one that I will cover down the line, the sequel, Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. But up next, we're actually going to be talking about The Phantom of the Opera. No, God, geez, not that one. There we go, that one. But guys, I hope you enjoyed my review of The Wolfman. If you did, be sure to hit that like button down below and let me know, what did you think of this movie if you've seen it? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Either way, post those thoughts down in the comments below. I'll be sure to check those out. And while you're at it, post which is your favorite of the Universal Monsters. But guys, thanks so much. And I'm going to leave you with this, that even a man who is pure of heart and says his prayers by night may become a wolf when the wolfbane blooms and the autumn moon is bright.